All right, welcome to another episode of DJ Jericho Podcast. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. So today, let's just get into it, man. This week the internet was set ablaze when Katt Williams stumped out, went down to Club Shay Shay, and aired out every comedian that we've ever known in the black community over the past 25 to 30 years. All right. Katt Williams did not hold back. He unleashed a lot of, facts, possible facts. I have to say alleged facts. Ooh. He was airing people out. Okay, and it's been a while since we seen Katt Williams. It was about maybe 5 years ago. Last time I remember him doing that interview when he was like really going in on Wanda Smith. I believe her name is. And that was a serious roast. But he decided to come on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharp, and he made some allegations about many of the folks' favorite comedians, including Cedric Entertainer, Steve Harvey, Ricky Smiley. But the thing I want people to understand is that he was responding back to the things that was said about him on other interviews or things that they may have said that was untrue, and also just really just venting. It just felt like one big venting section, and it lasts for 3 hours. And I'm saying 3 hours because I might as well just go ahead and round up and add the ads in between. So it's like literally 3 hours long. And I can't say that I was upset watching it. And when I say upset, like I was upset that I had to sit there for 3 hours to watch it. It was literally like watching a stand-up special because Katt Williams is a comedic genius and he's hilarious automatically. He's just naturally funny. He's one of those people that's just naturally funny. So I was able to just sit there and watch it and laugh and just enjoy it like it was just another comedy special for 2 hours and 46 minutes. But let's just get into what he spoke about. Okay, so he just went guns a blazing. I would say Shannon Sharp. Yeah, I think it was basically Katt Williams interviewing himself. Shannon Sharp was pretty quiet. He was just like he would chime in like a little bird. He'd be like, and you said, and then Katt Williams would just go guns a blazing, just boom, boom, boom. This is this, this is that. First thing he basically spoke about was Ricky Smiley. Ricky Smiley had made a claim saying that Katt Williams' role on Friday After Next, where he plays Money Mike the Pimp, was supposed to be his role. And Katt Williams basically replaced him. And Katt Williams, that angered him. It seemed like that angered Katt. And Katt was like, sir, no, it was a regular audition and you didn't get the role. And it cast you as the Santa Claus role instead. And he said it doesn't even make sense or even match his overall brand because Ricky Smiley, he is more of a church comedian, no cursing really. And of course he dresses up in drag, as a grandma, similar to Tyler Perry. And when I heard that, because I don't really follow Ricky Smiley like that. Of course, he has his radio show, and everyone in our community knows of him because he's been working for so long to build his brand. He's well respected, but I never viewed Ricky Smiley in a way of being a pimp. Like that just doesn't sound believable. But Katt Williams came out and basically said that what he said wasn't true. Okay. And then Ice Cube followed up yesterday and pretty much confirmed Katt Williams' story that he auditioned, but he didn't get the part because the part didn't match him for what he was. And they gave him the role as Santa Claus instead, or the crackhead that was dressed up as Santa in a movie, right? So after he responded, Katt Williams said a lot of things. The way that he said it was a bit taxing, could be a bit mean. Ricky Smiley went on his radio show and replied back, but he pretty much wanted to just wave the white flag immediately. His feelings was hurt. He said his kids' feelings was hurt, and he didn't want to, say anything nasty about Katt Williams because Katt Williams is the father, and he didn't want Katt Williams' kids to feel like how his kids felt. So he decided basically not to even defend himself per se. You could view it as a good thing or a bad thing. These are older men. They are older, at least in their 50s or 60s. So do what you got to do. The next thing, the second feud, Cedric the Entertainer. Katt Williams came out, said that Cedric the Entertainer took his joke. The joke he was talking about was a joke about him driving a Cadillac and he plays music, and it's like his closing performance for his set. Now, he said that he did this set back in 1998 on Comic View, which was a show that was syndicated on BET back in the day. Katt Williams said that was his joke. He made that joke. The comedian Mark Curry helped him put that joke together, and he was performing it all over the place for his closing act. And it was so popular, and it took so well to the audience that BET put him in the commercial doing that particular act. Then 2 years later, the year 2000, Kings of Comedy dropped. And Cedric the Entertainer, he did a similar routine. Now, the reason why I'm saying similar, and I'm going to always say allegedly, but if you really look at both videos, because the videos dropped on the internet as well, you can see, if you are truly a fan of comedy, you can see that the concept and the mannerism of the presentation of the act or whatever, or the joke, of the joke, was pretty much the same. Right? You have Katt Williams, he sits on a stool. Cedric the Entertainer, he sat on a stool. They presented the same way, like imagine yourself in a car, right? But Cedric the Entertainer flipped it and said, oh, if white people had the chance, they would leave us out in space and they would pull off, but black people will be right behind them, riding a Cadillac. Actually, we will be driving a spaceship like it was a Cadillac, and this and that, right? What he said, 75 deuce and a quarter, something like that. And then he puts a cigarette in his mouth, and then he sits down and they're driving. Now, literally, the hand movements is the same. The motion, how he presents the joke is the same. The set is pretty much the same. And the biggest part that was like, okay, he may have been inspired. He maybe did do what Katt said he did, was the part where he was closing out and the music starts to play. I was like, it just seemed a bit suspect to me there. And I was like, okay, now after that happened, there was another clip, and there was a lot of people coming at Cedric Entertainer recently, calling him out for borrowing jokes that was already presented to the public, not only from like actual stand-up comedians, but also from sitcoms. So it was a sitcom. I don't know. It looked like some old 90s or 80s. It looked like it was 1980s, 90s sitcom, where there was a joke, and the guy presented the joke to the co-star, which was a woman, about somebody meeting somebody, and they basically was saying the name and stuff, but what he was basically saying was like, you could call me by my initials or whatever, but when he said it was all together, it sounded like an actual name. And then there was a clip of Cedric Entertainer performing that exact same joke during one of his stand-up comedy shows. And I was like, okay, that was the second one. Then there was another video clip of another man. I don't know who he was, but he was basically saying that, it was a time where Katt Williams called him when Cedric Entertainer was doing his comedy set at a comedy club or wherever, or I think it was like a bigger venue, and he called him upset, saying he wanted to kill him, blah 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 blah, and he was basically telling him to calm down, that it's a good thing that Cedric allegedly took his joke, because it's going to make it so he's much bigger and he's probably trying to help him out. And then Katt Williams' response was like, good, okay, I'm glad you feel that way, because now he's doing your skit and your comedic performance as well in his set. And then he said, excuse me, he said, what is he doing? He was pop blocking. Now this man, he was known as a comedian that did certain routines or dance routines and stuff with part of his comedic set. And it showed the video of him dancing and Cedric the Entertainer dancing, and it was literally the exact same dance. I'm not quite sure. Listen, I'm not saying that he's a thief. I'm not quite sure the dates and times of these videos. The other videos that I seen, I don't know what day and time that sitcom came out. I'm not quite sure when the day and time of that other video that I seen circulating came out. But I did see it on one of the vlogs. And I was like, that's interesting. Um, Another thing that also got me was him saying that, kind of like Kevin Hart was a plant. I don't know how true that is, but he basically was saying that, pretty much Kevin Hart came into the industry and he didn't have to work as hard. They just had things lined up for him. And Katt Williams was basically saying that he helped set that up technically for Kevin Hart because he wouldn't take certain roles if it made him look a certain way. He wanted to keep his integrity. So he would pass it off and say, hey, if I can't do these certain accommodations to my liking, then I don't want to do the actual film. So then they start to give it over to Kevin Hart instead. And he basically would call Kevin Hart out, a few times. And particularly in this interview, he called him out again. Basically just trying to say that he's an industry plant. Do we know if he's an industry plant? Hey, it's really up to what you believe in. What do you guys think about that? I want to hear your thoughts about that comment that he said about Kevin Hart below. Kevin Hart came out. He made a little statement on Twitter, trying to mix it up and advertise his new movie that was coming out. I seen a preview for that. It's laxadays. And honestly, I'm going to give my opinion in regards to Kevin Hart. Okay, I actually seen him live. So this is me giving a thorough, a thorough reading of how I see him and my thorough perspective about him. And I just feel like in the beginning of his career, that was when he was his funniest. I actually seen him at the height of his career. I would say it was like his second or third comedy special. I actually went to see him when he came to my city, and it was funny. But after that particular comedy special, it was like he fell off to me. I don't know. I just feel like that happens often with comedians. They have the tendency of, like, when they're in the struggle, they're much funnier than they are when they get, washed down in Hollywood. And I don't know what that's about. Is it because they're not really living the regular life that they were before? I don't know what it is, but it just seems like very, very prevalent that when you're struggling as a comedian, you're much more funnier than you would be after you finally make it. That just seems like the theme here. The only comedian I can think of that really was super funny, even with them making millions of dollars, was Eddie Murphy. You know, um, and I don't know how much money Katt Williams have, but I know that he's been actively touring for 20 years and he's still selling out of arenas like it was back when he made his film debut on Friday After Next. And yeah, I feel like I just want to transition before I go into the next thing that he said about the other person. Um, Everyone is always talking about Kevin Hart and comparing him to Katt and stuff like that, and saying that Kevin Hart is better because he has some type of Hollywood movie deal and he's selling out he's selling out arenas when he goes on tour, but he also sells out in the box office and making blockbuster hits and films and stuff. But that doesn't equate to greatness to me. And the reason why it doesn't is because we need to understand that when it comes to movie productions, fans come out for various reasons, and it may be perceived that someone is coming to see a film for Kevin Hart, but he has co-stars, and those co-stars have their own fan base as well. Directors have their own fan base. Producers have their own fan base if they're well known in the industry. So that could, make it so people actually want to go see the film for various reasons outside of it being the comedian or actor that's starring in the film, right? On top of that, right? In most films, a good box office, you're gonna have millions of people come out during the weekend, make a lot of money. Or let's just go into Netflix. So we're going to talk about numbers, right? Because in the past 72 hours, there's been over 26 million views of Katt Williams' interview. All right? But people want to say that Katt Williams isn't A-list. He's not an A-list celebrity because he's not in any Hollywood films. But to me, that is A-list. The fact that Katt Williams was able to go on a YouTube platform after not being heard or seen in quite some time, giving a candid one-on-one interview in quite some time, for it to have 26 million views, and it's just him. And all respect to Shannon Sharp for putting this interview together in Club Shay Shay. I'm glad that it's growing. But we tuned in to see Katt Williams, and that's just keeping it real. Because although Club Shay Shay does pull numbers, he has never, ever pulled the numbers that he did this week. This is historic. This is a landslide. This is a landmark. Okay? In regards to statistics and analytics, never seen anything like that. Ever. All right? And for people to say that Katt Williams isn't A-list because he's not a part of Hollywood or whatever, I studied the other comedians that was interviewed on that same platform, and none of them came close to his numbers. Even with Steve Harvey's interview, I think his pulled 9 million. But you got to understand that 9 million was pulled over the past 8 months. Katt Williams had 26 million views in under 72 hours. So the biggest thing that he also highlighted is the fact that he didn't want to compromise his soul and his integrity. And he spoke about, the dark side of Hollywood, speaking about executives, offering to pleasure him to get things done, and how things was just really weird when he went into meetings. Choosing to not compromise his soul is what led him down the path where he's not in the movies in Hollywood. And for that, to be the reason why he technically hasn't made it, which to me, that just sounds stupid, the word he didn't make it. How do you not make it when you're pulling 26 million views on an interview in 72 hours? Like, we have to stop the smoke and mirrors and the BS when it comes to this Hollywood stuff. Like, we have to stop idolizing people. We have to stop that, because we let these people in Hollywood tell us what the cool is, when really we're the one that make the people cool. It really comes down to the viewers. It comes down to us. Clearly, we've spoken, right? Because we showed up and we watched that interview more than once, 26 million times, right? But that's just something that I just thought about, because Kevin Hart, he made a little generic statement, and then he was on like some NBA sports show, and it was just so weird. Like, I was sitting there watching it, and he was like trying to make a few jokes or jabs at Katt Williams, and they were just falling short. And you could tell when somebody's paid to laugh. Like, I know, Kevin Hart's the boss over there, so it just seemed like the people that was on there was like, oh, we gotta laugh, even though his jokes wasn't funny. It's just like, let's just move on. Let's just move on from that. Okay, so then the stuff he said about Steve Harvey, don't know if it's true, but he claimed that Steve Harvey was not the nicest to Bernie Mac, and that he was jealous of him while he was alive, and that he was not pleased with the fact that Bernie Mac got certain movie roles. I think it was like Ocean's 11 or something. And he was jealous that Bernie Mac had got, his own TV show and all the other stuff that he had, But he also highlighted that in the strangest way, Steve Harvey needed Bernie Mac, even though he was like kind of jealous of him, allegedly, because he said that, Bernie Mac was the funniest person on the Kings of Comedy, and the Kings of Comedy was actually Steve Harvey's tour, and Bernie Mac pretty much stole the spotlight. And Steve Harvey didn't like that, but he still needed him. He knew he needed him. That's kind of like what he was trying to say. And then I actually listened to the Ed Lover show. Shout out to Ed Lover. And he basically confirmed what Katt Williams said as well about Bernie Mac. Because he said he was friends with Bernie Mac as well. And Bernie Mac said that allegedly Steve Harvey wasn't the nicest to him either. So you could take it where you could take it with that. And Katt Williams also highlighted that a lot of the comedians, they lie and say that they're not trying to be in movies when clearly they do want to be in the films and stuff like that. And they'll say that to make them look good. But, everybody wants to get in the film industry. And even Katt Williams admitted that he wants to be in films and stuff like that. But he's not willing to compromise himself. in a sexual manner, whatever they're requesting, he's not willing to do that, which is wonderful. It's nice to know that he's keeping his integrity. How many people did he go down? Oh my God. I did Cedric the Entertainer. We highlighted Cedric, didn't we? Yeah, we already did that. Damn. So many people he just fired off. Like, first of all, hats off to Katt Williams. He's on tour right now, and I need to get me some tickets. I don't know how. I got my own stuff going on. So I'm hoping that maybe next year or so I'll be well enough and then I can go and see his show because I would truly want to see him live. I seen Kevin Hart live and it was a good show. But that was in the height of his career. So I probably wouldn't buy no more tickets to see Kevin Hart because he's not funny to me anymore. I just feel like he just doesn't do it for me no more. So I'm hoping to see if he ever does go on tour. I'm trying to see him next year sometime. That would be great. That would be so great to see 2025 if he does another tour. I am hoping that I'll be able to go. And another cool thing, and we're talking about his tour, people like to say he's not A-list, but he's selling out arenas. He's selling out arenas. He's breaking records in regards to his ticket sales. And people are still trying to say, "Oh, he's not that. He's this. He's that." All these people that want to idolize these comedians and make it seem like it's impossible for them to be flawed and to possibly do things that weren't too savory in the beginning of their careers when they were trying to get launched. I don't put anything past anybody really, and of course I have to say allegedly and stuff, but I just don't see Katt Williams going on a 3-hour rant just for the hell of it. And and let me not say rant because it's not really a rant, going on a 3-hour venting section, calling out individuals that may have done him wrong or wronged him in some form or fashion just for the hell of it. I just don't see that. I feel like he's been very transparent. I think that he's been honest. Now, the part that was kind of weird to me is when he was talking about he read like 3,000 books before he turned 12 years old. I don't know if that was true. But everything else, for the most part, there's been receipts and videos all over the web. Oh, back to the Steve Harvey thing. Another thing that he was speaking about in regards to Steve Harvey, he had said that Steve Harvey allegedly stole some of Mark Curry's jokes. And Mark Curry, he had his own show called Hang with Mr. Cooper. And he also said that Steve Harvey basically tried to steal the Mr. Cooper idea for his show, The Steve Harvey Show, which was very popular in the late 1990s, early 2000s. And I watched the show. I loved that show. But he spoke about that. He also said that Steve Harvey hair was allegedly a sew-in or wig or toupee or something like that. Now, that's something I heard before. I mean, if it was, it is what it is. But more so, the part of the scandalous part is not the hair, okay? Because that was a good high top fade. But the more scandalous part is him basically allegedly saying that he took, some of his jokes from another well-known comedian, who currently is not on a radar right now, who's a well-known comedian back then, but right now it's not as many people saying, "Oh, where's Mark Curry?" and stuff like that. But after he said that, the internet dropped some more receipts showing Mark Curry on an interview with Fox Soul a few years back. I want to say maybe a few years back, basically stating out of his mouth that Steve Harvey stole the jokes from his set and performed it during one of his shows. Not quite sure what show it was. We know, Steve Harvey, he has a lot of shows. I would assume that it was the Steve Harvey show, the show that he had more recently, where he was a host and everything else. But he was basically saying that he confronted Steve Harvey, the host of the show that he was being interviewed by, asked him what was said, and he said, "You can ask him." He didn't really say what words was exchanged, but you could tell Mark Curry was like really upset about that. And the interesting part, the joke that Katt Williams performed on Comedy View that he said Cedric the Entertainer had stole from him was actually, honed by Mark Curry. So it's just interesting how a lot of people in the industry that's been contributing so much to the well-known comedians out here are overlooked. So I want to give a shout out to Mark Curry, and hopefully, maybe he can get his career where he wants it to be again. I don't know if he's okay where he's at, because a lot of comedians, they do okay, on the road and stuff, and we just don't know about it because they don't have a Netflix special, but they're actively working, they're actively getting their bag, so I wish him the best. What else happened? He threw a random shot at Ludacris because Shannon Sharp was pretty much asking him about the Fast and Furious franchise, and Katt Williams basically said he was supposed to be a part of that, but he decided not to because they basically were saying there was some secret society stuff. I'm not going to say it out my mouth because people, y'all ain't coming looking for me. But he was basically trying to say that Ludacris is a part of some things that weren't too savory, or organization that wasn't too savory, and he didn't want to be a part of it. That's what it was alluding to. Ludacris came on the internet the next day and basically was trying to put out some random freestyle. I guess he was trying to address it, saying that he wasn't a part of no secret organization. I seen it. I just was like, why couldn't I see that you doing a freestyle, but why can't you just verbally say that it's not true? I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. I just feel like a lot of the people that he spoke about, responses were funny because none of them actually came out and say, "Yo, that is completely false. That's unequivocally incorrect, and it's false." I haven't heard anybody say that. Now, the only person that really did some corrections was Ice Cube, and he came out and basically said that there wasn't no rape scene going on in Friday After Next, because Katt Williams basically said that there was a rape scene in Friday After Next, and Ice Cube or whatever his team wanted him to act it out and complete the actual rape scene. And Katt Williams said, "Nah, we don't want to do that. Let's make it funny instead," because he wouldn't do something like that, and that's not part of his character, or he wanted to be a part of anything like that. But Ice Cube basically said that that's not how he produces his films, and he's not that type of guy. And I believe him. He's more of a comedic, movie producer, and nothing really crazy has happened in his film, except for the Players Club that he mentioned. But even then, he stated that that was left to the imagination. Who else caught random strays? He randomly threw out Chris Tucker's name, associating with him with Epstein Island. I don't know what that was about. Um, what else? Who else did he? I mean, it was just so many people catch strays. But long story short, it was a hell of an interview. I enjoyed it. I'm glad to see Katt Williams back out here. I'm glad to see Katt Williams being fearless. I'm glad that Katt Williams didn't compromise his integrity as a man, or just as a human being in general. I'm glad that Katt Williams is being able to walk around with his head held high, and I'm glad to see him doing well for himself, even though there was a lot of things that was placed against him, a lot of obstacles placed in his way. A lot of people that tried to silence him pretty much, and he is still standing on his stool, and he is talking, and he's not afraid to speak out. And that's the thing that I respect the most about Katt Williams, is that as a comedic genius, because that's what he is, as a comedic genius, not only is he gifted in that way as a comedic genius, but he also has a lot of integrity. And I've seen a lot of comedians on the internet talking about how Katt Williams is so generous and how he's helped so many people, and he doesn't talk about it. And I just have so much respect for him. Another thing, stop clocking people's networks. This is for the viewers out there. I've seen a ton of people on the internet talking about some, oh, Katt Williams isn't as funny as Kevin Hart. Look at how much money he has in his network. And it's like, okay, when did money make somebody funny? Money doesn't make character. I just didn't understand that. And also, you don't know exactly what's in someone's bank account. And I'm pretty sure Katt Williams got more than $2 million in his bank account. I just never understood that. That's weird to me. It's like, yeah, I get it. For y'all, cash rules everything around y'all. Cream get the money, dollar bill, y'all. I get that. But for me, it's not about that. I think it's about character at the end of the day. So I don't want to be too long winded with this. I just wanted to go in here and highlight some things from the Katt Williams interview, and really just get a man his props and his respect. I'm about to head off of here. It's been a long week. And I got a lot of news to go over, more news to go over, but I think I went through everything for the most part. Big Worm, he also called a Big Worm. Faison Love, he also called him out too. That's another person he called out too. And Faison had a weird response. He basically trying to say he needed help or something. But really, I don't understand why he needed help, because he was basically calling him out, basically because Faison allegedly, he's been on the internet talking about him as well. I want to clarify another thing for people. A lot of people on the internet also saying, and I think I said also like 20 times, sorry about that. basically, Katt Williams is on here just rambling, but he's not rambling. He literally was like responding to these other comedians' interviews where they would make certain statements, and Katt Williams viewed them as false. So he decided to speak up. He decided to defend his honor. He decided to defend his name. That's pretty much what it was. But we didn't know it was going to be 3 hours, and now we're here. We are 26 million views plus later, and that's what we got. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate everyone. This is the DJ Jericho podcast. I'll be back hopefully. I don't know when I'll be back. I gotta get the viewership up on here, y'all. Like, yeah, it's hard to get this podcast launched, man. It's yeah, yeah. And YouTube be killing me with the algorithm. My God, it's just like, uh, can I vent for 2 seconds before I get off here? Cause I'm ready to get off here. I'm a little tired, you guys. But YouTube be stressing me out. Like I be trying to put together these podcasts and do this stuff, and trying to put together a nice presentation. And I try to put it on YouTube. And even though I have a lot of subscribers, it's like YouTube is not pushing my stuff like I want it to be pushed. And it's frustrating. So I don't know how many people's going to listen to this. And if you are listening to it, wherever you are, please, let's try to get this viewership up. All right. Because the more viewers, the more followers we have, the more I'll be on here. I'm trying to get to like at least 2,000 followers on every platform and 2,000 or 5,000 streams per episode at least. I've been going viral all over social media lately. A million here, a million there, a million that. I need to get these viewers converted over to this podcast. That's why I'm not doing long-winded all this. I'm going to try to do short topics, and hopefully I can get the viewership building up. And then once we get settled, then I'll go and be long-winded and start doing more topics and stuff. But besides that, I think that's it. Thank you guys for tuning into my podcast. Share your thoughts about the Katt Williams interview. What was some highlighted parts that that you noticed and that you liked, or certain points that he spoke about that you guys agree with or what you disagree with? Do you guys feel like Cedric Entertainer stole from Katt Williams? Was it obvious? Was it not obvious? What do you feel about Steve Harvey? Do you believe Steve Harvey stole from Mark Curry? What is your thoughts about that? Just tell me what you guys think about this whole thing, and do you guys feel like this whole thing is immature, that all of these older men, they just can't seem to get along? Or is Katt Williams just being able to, is it right for him to just be able to just come out and vent? And should he come out and vent and say the things that he needs to say? So, it's a free world, freedom of speech. Personally, I feel like he can and he should. But y'all, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, like button, wherever you're watching. I appreciate y'all, and I hope y'all have a blessed, wonderful weekend. Much love. Follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you guys are on YouTube, make sure you guys go there, because, of course, on YouTube, I can't talk about certain things. It kind of sucks. All right. Bye-bye.